Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sean and Chris's podcast number 8. I do apologise about the banner. It's a work in progress, so please, I'm not the artist, I'm just fiddling a little bit. As again, thank you Chris for housing us here at the on our 8th one. We're going to get straight into it. Today we're talking about Badenoch's promise to protect Brexit. I will honour the will of the people. And I added this little bit towards her statement of 2016 because the filthy British press have been talking about how we've only had Brexit for 5 years, where in fact we left the European Union in 2016. And that's really fucking narked me, because dirty bastards like Rupert Murdoch and his vile press are making it sound like we've only been in the Brexit for 5 years. It hasn't been 5 years. We signalled we were going to leave in 2016, we triggered it from there, and that's from Theresa May back in 2019. It has been a lot longer than fucking goddamn. It's nearly been 10 years. This is disgusting, beyond disgusting, relatively speaking. Is she serious? Is she being serious that the women will never be Prime Minister? That woman will never be Prime Minister. And whilst I swear she's never be PM, why do you ask, Chris? Well, the simple answer is quite clearly the UK people had 4 unelected Prime Ministers from her party. From Theresa May to the bloody head of lettuce, Boris the party disaster, and then there was Rishi Sunak giving tax breaks to my mates. These people were fucking useless, and as useless as 𝐾𝐸 is, and no one on this podcast is defending 𝐾𝐸, he's still better than the last 5 imbeciles. So I'm very, very clear here, Badenoch. You are never, ever going to be Prime Minister. You are an interim leader. You are smoking something if the Tories have given you that job because they know they don't want anyone near or close to near the stench that represents the last 5 Prime Ministers that have been nothing but useless. The idea that you will be that one of our country's leaders is laughable. You have been put there as a front person to try and make us look good, or make the Tories look good. It's just, it's beyond a joke. What's your opinion of that, Chris? That she's going to honour the Brexit?
It was fucked up to start off with, and I don't know how you're going to honour it, let alone fix it. God knows how many years after it's actually meant to have been done, dusted and sorted out. 2016 was the vote. And I want to point that out, 2016. We are 1 year away from the 10-year anniversary to this absolute fucking disaster. Disaster. It's been a train wreck from start to finish. And I stand by this point, my British brothers and sisters, my countrymen and women. Are you richer or poorer than 2016? Now, me and Chris are full-time working men. We do 40-hour plus work weeks. I know I'm worse off than I was. And I don't even have a wife and kids yet, and nor does the man here. We know we're not better off. Heaven forbid the noble British families that are running around building families. That's got to be fucking murder for them. To think we want one of them back. Just, nah. The only reason we're worse off is because it was executedly
dreadful.
Poorly.
Absolutely fucking dreadful.
Well, but poorly is an understatement. Fucking just didn't happen.
No, of course
it's just like, yeah, we're just leaving, we ain't going to bother with anything else.
Yeah. We didn't bother with any agreement with France when it comes towards immigration. We didn't bother about any trade deal across the border. We still haven't fixed my father's people's border. The Belfast Irish border has not been fixed. This is the fucking joke that we live in right now. In 50 years, we will look back at this as the worst fucking political decision. This was an entire political own goal. This did enormous political damage. And the fact that 𝐾𝐸 lacks the fucking strength to admit this and fix it because he's frightened of what the 2016 ethno-fucking nationalist thing. Most people who voted Brexit, 80% of them are believed to want to change the deal right now. Because anybody with a brain cell knows we are poorer than we are, and we haven't fixed the migration problems. Not even remotely. Talking about 𝐾𝐸, you wanted to say something about him.
Yes, I think it's about time you took a leaf out of Mr. Trump's book.
Oh God.
Where Mr. Trump has pledged to abolish income tax for a set amount of time in America to better off his people. Use that as an example and reform the fucking tax system.
We have the most convoluted tax system in the United Kingdom, in the world. 100,000 pages of tax. I know I go on about it. And I know Chris has kind of got onto that boat as well, because it does affect everything we do.
I think Trump doing what he's doing now is a clear sign. If America is willing to do it to benefit its own people, it's about time we do it as well. Because it will benefit us.
Absolutely. Any reduction in tax benefits the British people.
Because he's
the Tories are
tax more on companies that are using his stuff, which is
exactly what I have said.
It's said. So we should...
And I'm not even talking an outrageous tax either. No. Like I said, 35% is an ouch, but not outrageous.
I think it should be 25 for and under $1 million, 35 for anything over $1 million, but then you don't pay council tax, you don't pay road tax. No extra bits.
Chris. What? Stop you there. We pay around 26% tax now, as me and you in general.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's around 26
already.
Yeah. In our base income tax is about 26%. I want to be very, very clear here. You drop that by 6%, that will change our entire lives. We drop that to 21.5%. And the reason I say that is because if every company, no in-houses, no gifts, every company pays 35.1% tax, we will have a net benefit. And that will swallow the British people shrinking their tax base by 5%. We'll still need to pay tax. Britain is too urbanised not to pay tax. But when it comes towards the disgusting failure of the British political system to deal with 100,000 pages of tax, it makes my fucking skin crawl, because it makes every Briton poorer. That is the one resoluting problem. You fix the tax, you fix everything. You fix families who want to have kids having kids. You hear about all the ethno-nationalists saying, great replacement, that's bollocks. Yeah, the idea of a great replacement is absolute fucking bollocks. And the reason people are not having kids is they don't have the money to do it. People do not want to get poorer trying to raise a generation of children. Especially where mine and Chris's generation are already poorer than our parents' generation. We already are. Our very nature of our society is that us, the Western people, are not better off than our parents. No, and there are 30-year-olds living with their parents today.
They've ruined the economy that much and that badly.
It's because they keep giving tax breaks to corporate elite.
The cost of living is far exceeding the living wage, regardless how much you put it up each year.
Yeah.
Every year it goes up.
You need to drop the tax on people. That's the fun. I cannot stress. I think the party that I
not just on people, just on everything.
Yeah. Because the standard corporate tax is around 60-70%.
That needs to drop.
Yeah, that needs to drop to 30%, and then you need to get rid of all the waivers. Every single one of the waivers. All of them, no matter where they are, and also tax havens, non-domiciles, everything. Wipe away. One bracket for those under $1 million, one bracket for those over $1 million.
Across the board, no substitutions.
No substitutions, no ifs. The tax code will be incredibly... Yes, the accounting industry will suffer. I've said this, I think, in my first or second podcast.
Yeah, but then you can turn around and get the accounting industry and then pull it into the government tax system, the simplest one, to distribute the funds accordingly throughout the place.
To be fair, these white-collar businesses, they will do... if you give them enough warning, they will merge, because they're already dying, as I've said before, because of AI. AI is taking up a lot of the burden when it comes towards the tax industry. And this is why we should realistically simplify the British tax system. It'll put the accounting industry out, yes, but it will also ease the pain on all Britons by streamlining our tax system.
The positives will outweigh the negatives greatly.
Absolutely. You drop British people's taxes by 5%, from 26% base income tax down to 21%. That will have a significant change in British people's income.
But it must be followed up
with a tax system.
Company pays tax, regardless. There's no backdoors, no nothing, no escape. You pay it straight flat.
And 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭, we're now seeing Donald Trump literally talking about this, and we've said this in our earlier podcasts. We have literally spoken about this in our earlier. The fact that Trump is doing this is vindicating.
Trump is proving our point.
Vindicating, and it makes it realises what the point of our people and these conversations that we're having with the general public benefit us. Moving on, Prince Andrew, the King's brother, said to Epstein, "We'll play more." Now, that may weigh in many ways, because he's a rich person, and rich people could be referred to golf, could be referred to racing cars, could be referred to yachts. Rich people have an idea of play differently. When you take into account that Epstein is a convicted child molester, and Prince Andrew is accused, I say accused because no one's been proven as of yet, and I want to be hand on heart here, he's accused of being a child predator, like Epstein. And when you say the words "we'll play more soon," does have 1,000 connotations when it comes to it. Scarily so. What the fuck is he doing? Even with these rumours, what the fuck is he doing still as a prince of this kingdom? Is our king out of his mind? Because the Queen, our previous monarch, may God rest her soul, she threw Andrew out of the royal family. Literally cast him out, like put him out.
As she should.
As you should. Just from the rumours. His brother the king let him back in the family.
What the hell, Charles? What are you doing?
Yeah. The man is a suspected, I use this very carefully, child predator. The fact that he's a suspected child predator is enough that he should never be called a prince or a duke again. And called this friend a friend. It's beyond the pale, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you want to call him a friend, you lose the prince title.
Of course. And apparently
If you want to keep the prince title, you can't select the friend. Simple.
The problem being is the prince claimed that he did. This conversation happened after the interview, the disastrous interview he gave online. We'll play again soon, he said to Epstein, after he said he'd cut ties. Fucking hell.
Play again soon, play again with what?
Yeah, and like I said, with rich people, you can accept that to some degree. Yachts, golf, maybe cards, whatever rich people tend to do when they say they're going to play again. It could be anything. But when it's coming from a man who's actually convicted, Epstein died in jail, died. We know he knew too many people and he was got rid of. We know this. He was got rid of. We don't know who got rid of him. We know he got rid of. Because he knew too many people, and if he spoke too much, there would be problems. But Epstein is a convicted child predator. The prince is an accused child predator who's paid people off. And no matter how harsh that is to the royal family, Prince Andrew should absolutely not be a member of the royals.
No.
Just no. On so many levels, no. The king needs to fire some of his legal team. Whoever is advising the king, they should be fired. They should genuinely be fired. Because whoever the fuck is advising our king about the members of royal family in the capacity of the United Kingdom needs to probably lose their job for not saying to the king, you can't have Andrew as a prince. It's a fucking walking disaster. You're the head of state. He cannot be referred to as your brother is one thing. We can't change who our blood is. Britain won't look at that wrong if he's still my brother and he's coming into small family events. But as an actual fucking prince of the realm and the duke, because people go on and on and on about how this is a massive important thing to the British people, and it is. Child molesting is not a fucking joke. It's not something we should ever be joking about. But the fact that a rumoured and the prince is friends to convicted child molester, a nonce, a kiddie fiddler, is terrifying. Fucking terrifying. And if that was just enough, I think that would be enough. If the prince had no other connection with him other than the fact that he spent some time on his island, there was no accusations against the prince directly, that should be enough, in my opinion, for the prince to retire from public life as Prince Andrew, from having public duty. The fact that he is, and the fact that he's involved, and the fact he's had to pay off people. There have been payouts, Chris.
He shouldn't even be a prince. If he's had to pay stuff out, which means he's trying to keep stuff in the closet.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, no. And he's a suspected because there are no convictions. And I want to be very, very clear in this podcast. He's not accusing the prince of actually being one. He's a suspected. But that suspicion alone should disqualify him from being a prince of the country.
Until his innocence is proven.
He's never going to want to go to court.
He's never going to want to go to court. So
I mean, would you, if you were a high-profile person like that, would you want to go to court?
No.
Even for the chance, you would pay it off. So his career as a prince is over.
I'd pay it off and disappear into the background.
Yeah, you'd have to. You'd have to go do some farming, go do some pheasant shooting. The man is never going to be poor. Like, he's the brother to the king. He's never going to be poor.
He's just disappear into the background.
But the fact that his brother King has brought him back into the family front line is explosively bad.
And the thing is, obviously, where he's been accused, and he's obviously paid people off to shush it all. If he just stepped back and just disappeared and just done private family events, that's what we wouldn't even declare, because we're like, okay, he's been accused, he's done the right thing, he stepped back, he's took himself.
But he hasn't. He's come back to fucking family politics. He's gone back to what is called quite often in British public society the firm, the first original firm, as in the royal family. The Queen got rid of him. The Queen expelled her own son.
And this is someone that ruled the monarchy for generations.
Our entire life.
Yeah.
My mum, our parents' life, I think.
Yeah.
I think your mum was born with the Queen in charge.
Yeah. So that's generations. That's generations there. It's not just one, it's generations. If she's kicked him out, he should stay kicked out.
Charles shouldn't. The King should never have brought him back into the royal family. It's absolutely bloody ludicrous. In the prospects that Andrew is even associated with these sick people, even associated with them. And it's astounding that we are having this conversation again after Epstein's even dead. The fallout of Epstein is still affecting us because Prince Andrew is a part of our royal family. Oh, to be lavish, 𝐻𝐻𝐻 regime. I can't even grasp.
It's just due to the connection it's causing issues.
Yeah, of course. Give us your thoughts on Prince Andrew and Badenoch ever being Prime Minister. Moving on. Abramovich to tax dodging must be probed, HMRC has urged. Sanctioned Russian oligarch, Roman, I'm probably butchering his name, Abramovich, wow, I can't even pronounce that, must be investigated for over $1 billion he could owe the government, says so one group of MPs.
And that's somebody that's the manager of Arsenal.
$1 billion's worth of money.
Yet again, another thing that affects something which is actually quite prominent and proud of within the UK. Football. And that is the football, the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone's being an idiot.
Proper investigation needs to happen. There has to be a formal investigation. And the HMRC are known for giving sweetheart deals to billionaires. And that's another thing that really pisses me off. Sweetheart deals and handshakes from the HMRC. Oh, if you pay this much tax, we'll let the rest of it go. That needs to fucking stop. There's a culture.
And yet we'll turn around in the working class, man. You miss.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all over you like that smart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting that even the fact that this Russian oligarch has £1 billion in tax waiting theoretically to be paid. I mean, his lawyers apparently said they've always obtained independent expert professional tax and legal advice and acted in accordance with that advice and the law as it is loosely set around taxes of football clubs. Quote unquote. An example that the tax system works for anyone who isn't the working class. Anybody under 600 grand. And I'm serious about that. If you were making 600 grand as a master engineer, as an architect, or as a city planner, we don't have many of them in the UK as it is, or let's say a surgeon general in one of our failing hospitals, making hundreds and hundreds of grand. I'm sure some doctors are going to say in the comment section, I don't make that much money. But you know what I'm saying?
We're talking top tier.
Top tier, actual non-millionaires. You know, the upper end of middle class. Yeah? The places me and Chris want to be.
Places we're working towards.
We're getting our way towards that, definitely. They pay tax, horrific levels of tax. And yet this billionaire is being able to walk out with $1 billion's worth of tax. What the fuck is going on in how
think what $1 billion's worth of tax could do to our economy.
Yeah, I know, mad. HMRC.
Think how many hospitals that could help.
Not that many, actually.
Yeah, no, just the fact that it can help hospitals, yeah? Not the fact, okay, fair enough, $1 billion.
It might not necessarily put a dent in the fucking problems we got with the NHS.
Yeah, it may not be able to help a vast amount, but think about the fact that, say, £1 billion is able to help 5 hospitals in the lower end things which are struggling with the health system as it is. The fact that
£1 billion in those 5 lower hospitals will allow them to hire more staff, sort out them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. £1 billion will help 5 hospitals go from being down here to up here on care standards is astounding.
Yeah, absolutely mad.
And some cock jockey is going, I've evaded it on tax. Ha ha.
Yeah. this is why the tax system is so fucking broken. You've seen in our earlier podcast, you've seen earlier just this podcast, our opinion on the British tax system, it needs to be fucking overhauled. Multiple. But the fact that a billionaire Russian oligarch, who's under sanctions, admittedly, still owes us £1 billion worth of tax.
Potentially need to investigate.
Potentially needs to be investigated. HMRC will make a sweetheart deal. I guarantee you this. It's the way they operate. They say, well, if you pay 300 million, Mr. I butcher your name, Romanov, fucking hell, Abramovich. I am so sorry if we have any Russian viewers. How bad I am butchering that name. It is a fundamental reality that this level of tax conversation, like the HMRC giving him a sweetheart deal, pay 350 and we'll let the rest of it go.
I can understand a sweetheart deal of 750 million and then leaving 250 million. That's fine, but that's still quite a fair chunk of change.
I don't think sweetheart deals should ever be done.
But then that's the only case I was called like, yeah, you've been found to owe £1 billion if you pay this much off straight away. That's fine, because we get that luxury if a bill comes up and we're able to reduce it. So
I fundamentally, when it comes to billionaires, absolutely not. I don't believe that if they're failing the fucking tax system, or
I've got a better way: pay the tax bill or go fund 5 hospitals.
You see, that used to be the thing. Back in the Victorian period, no, I'm glad you made that tangent.
Yeah.
Back in the Victorian period, multi-millionaires and billionaires used to avoid tax by funding public projects.
And see, that I'll be okay with because it's doing something for the people that are making them the money.
It's mad. It's mad how they keep getting away with it. The culture of millionaires and billionaires has radically changed in 100 years. 100 years ago, we didn't have billionaires, relatively speaking, or if we did, they were heads of state. Like the German emperor, the Russian emperor, Victoria, they would have been billionaires, theoretically speaking. The acting president on behalf of the US would have been a billionaire. The early oil barons would have been billionaires. But these weren't people that you could spend billions. This wasn't liquidable movement of money.
No, it's stuff that was invested in, tied up in stuff.
Countries and states. But independent billionaires should never be given sweetheart deals. Nah, fuck them. Genuinely speaking, the fact that they're able to get away with this level of tax is...
I honestly reckon it should be a case of fact, you pay the bill, or you go fund 5, 6, roughly a suitable number to actually make a certain number of hospitals that, and if you don't pay it and do it within a year, you face jail time. Straight off. That's me being exceptionally harsh. Because I have a distinct feeling most billionaires will turn and go, hang on, I'll fund the hospital.
Charitable status of helping poor communities was very, very popular in Victorian Britain. And nowadays, that very idea is alien to the super elite. How they have radically changed.
How the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, absolutely. They are vastly outnumbered by us. They are vastly outnumbered by us. There's less than a few thousand of them in Europe. There's only a couple of thousand of them in America. There's no way. If a country turns on the billionaires, there's nothing they can do. Even financial power doesn't besquare themselves. Politicians should be deeply alarmed by the idea that billionaires carry too much control over our public society and public spending. Anyway, moving on for the podcast. Water bills in England and Wales will rise by an average of £123 a year from this April.
Why are they rising?
The average annual bill will be £603, but there are significant differences between water companies, and households cannot change their supplier. The average bill will increase from around £10 a month, from £40 to £50, but millions of households face even steeper rises. Southern Water's customers will have a 47% increase to £703 a year, whilst Hayford, Dyewood and Southern West Water's bill will rise by 32%. And you mentioned earlier, our local area, Severn Trent, will have a somewhere of about 29% fucking increase.
So that's basically, by the sounds of it, if your water bill was £600 a year, you're going to be paying at least another £200 plus on top. Yet another thing of cost of living going up and the minimum wage not matching it. And and you guys wonder why you're pouring. It's just simply because of the fact the cost of everything's going up. Our wages are not matching it. I remember a time when it kind of went up, wages matched it or just below it, and it always on that teetering edge of a level or wages just below. So you always had the spare bit of money in your pocket. Now it's living expenses up here, wage here. And it's every year, even though they both go up, the living expense keeps going.
Of course. The water companies have been pouring sewage into our country for decades. Some of these water plants have been doing it for decades. And they've been using special rules, special contractable rules. I've mentioned this in our previous podcast about having waivers that have allowed them to poison with sewage our waterways. Every single fucking one of these companies should be nationalised. Categorically. This is where me and Chris deviate. Chris believes the executors probably should be punished and these facilities and the finances and the shareholders should be restructured so that the company puts the money that comes from the shareholders into the infrastructure.
I think the infrastructure should be restructured but nationalised. So everyone's...
Oh no, my apologies. I thought you were the other way around.
No. Nationalised means that everyone's going to be held accountable, which means it does form a case of harsh punishment because if it's nationalised...
The shareholders should get nothing. After decades and decades of misuse of our water systems and failure to invest in what they call an ageing system, whilst we know they've been given bumper fucking goddamn profits, every single one of them shareholders should be cut the fuck off. Our country should be given the legal right to seize these properties because they were there. We built those water companies. We built them. They're ours. We built that infrastructure they haven't fucking updated since me and Chris were kids. I say it now, nationalise the lot, slip a middle fucking finger to the corporate man on this matter because they're pouring sewage into our country and they haven't fixed these systems for decades. Have to up the bills to deal with the ageing fucking industry. No, we should nationalise the entire lot of them.
How can you up the bills if you're making a profit?
Exactly. All their executives have bumper profits.
Hang on. If it's a business, if you're making a profit, you should be turning around and reinvesting that profit to make everything better. So that then in a couple of years you could then slightly rise the bill. Because of the fact all you're thinking about is 6 months to 12 months I can get a nice lovely chunky paycheck, extra bonus. Instead of thinking, hang on, my children's grandchildren are going to be living in a world
fucking poisoned waterworks.
The world is wars were poisoned.
It's insane. The water companies are taking us for a cunt. So are the electrical companies. And I'm not even a socialist. That's the crazy thing. I'm very centralistic in most of my views, but on this single matter involving what the public paid for, when me and Chris were kids, we had public water, we had public rail, we had public electricity, British rail, British water, British fucking goddamn
I've never known any frigging issues when it was all nationalised.
No. Yeah. It was some of it was slow to respond. Sometimes we had slow responses with things like getting power fixed and power cuts, that lot. Yes, the corporate world has sped that up, but that should be a utility service. That should not be the ownership of these company-bought assets because they have categorically failed to protect the British public with this. And that negligence warrants, in my view, a full-scale nationalisation of water, electric and rail with no fucking goddamn financial reimbursement from any of those companies. Every single fucking shareholder should be given the British middle finger. And I don't care that's on camera. I really don't. Because that's probably about as socialistic as I get. These fuckers have used our finances, our assets. I remind the younger generation who are watching this, because many of you are going to be younger than me and Chris, that when we were kids, those were country-owned assets.
And there wasn't an issue. It may have been slow response time.
Absolutely.
But they were working on it.
Yeah. We got corporatised. They gave us much faster responses when we had power cuts or water problems. Cool. That was smooth for a decade. Then bills started to fucking spiral, and that was the effect of living costs. And I don't care if it's socialistically minded. We genuinely should take back all of the assets we, the British taxpayers, bought and paid for. Again and a fucking again. I am sick to the back to this. These aren't private industries. We're not talking about nationalising private capital industries. There's nothing private about the water companies. Southern Waters, Thames Waters, Balmont Waters, they're all built on public property. all those infrastructures go back, mine and Chris's childhood, were owned by the public. And the idea these fuckers have probably done none of the... I don't even know how much engineering work they've done. I'm going to look that up for our 9th podcast, Chris, actually. We're going to circle back to this, and I'm going to do some research, actual background research on how much these companies have invested individually. We'll use those ones: Southern Water, Thames Water, Balmont Water, our company.
Yeah.
Severn Trent, is that?
Severn Trent,
yeah. We will go over that. We will go over all of their fucking investments to work out how much they have directly invested in the United Kingdom's waterways. Because if we're having an ageing system, why is it ageing? Why hasn't it been fixed? You're a private company. This shit should have been fixed. And the sewage, the fucking sewage that is being poured into our rivers. Oh man, makes me fucking mad that these cunts are allowed to do that.
That's the reason why the prices are going up, because they're dumping the sewage in, then the water's coming back in to be fed back to us, so which means they have to then clean out their own sewage again.
Fucking madness. Fucking madness.
I've noticed this on cycle, yeah?
Just madness. Fucking madness. And they're allowed to do this.
You should be breaking the cycle. And can't sewage be obviously dried out and whatnot, then turned into...
Oh, absolutely, the technology's there. Chris, the technology's there.
Yeah.
You can turn... The Japanese, the Chinese, they all do it. You can turn city wastewater, mining your poops, into clean water. It's not something anyone, even we Muslims, we don't like the idea of that. It's a nasty for religious reasons. But it is actually safe.
But if they're able to turn around and make that obviously drinking water, then whatever they took out, surely that can then turn around and then go into fertilising our crops.
Some of it can, some of it can't. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
They don't have the infrastructure because they've not done any of the investment during mining your life to the infrastructure
to do it.
To do it. It's a mad.
Why not?
I know. Good money. Got to pay my investors.
Since they're all pushing renewable energy, surely that will fall into it. Yeah. Because I love the fact of solar panels. Solar panels do work. They are fantastic.
They make household electric cheaper.
Yeah, they make everything work. Everything's better off for it. Yeah, fantastic, correct. Yeah. So why aren't we doing that with our water?
If the British government, the British elite, do not want to swallow the bullet to nationalise waterworks, electric and that lot, I encourage all of our viewers categorically: get yourself water traps, get yourself solar panels. Make your household as independent from the grid as you possibly can.
Actually, no. Get the solar panels, then feed it back to the grid, because in that way the electric company then pays you for the electricity you just bought.
It's not that much. It's been dropped.
Has it been dropped?
Yeah.
But it's still something.
Yeah. Ideally,
if for the ones that wanted to make a bit of money off it, that is an option.
Absolutely.
Although you could also turn around and just put a massive battery storage pack and keep it to yourself and go that today.
Absolutely. I'm of the opinion each British household, if the government are incompetent, and we know they're incompetent, to the point that they refuse to fix our water electrical problems, the British people should move with their own private equity, those who can, to solar panels, water traps.
New builds come in with solar panels.
Yeah.
And I think I know the reason why they're dropping the amount of money you get back from
because they're having to build
because it's becoming too effective.
Yeah.
So they're losing out on money. Instead of gaining money, they're now starting to pay it out, which is now scaring them.
Just for the self-sufficiency, water traps are brilliant. If you can afford it, and I know this isn't going to help a lot of Britons, but the more Britons who will get on it means that the private industry of water trap industries that allow you to trap the water from rain. We're a very wet country. Realistically, Britain houses...
If you could do water trapping, think of how low your water bill will be.
Absolutely. And it is a chunk of change to go out at the moment. But the middle class Britons who invest in that will lower the price because of the mass production of it. The more lower price it does, the better it gets for the economy and the people in general large. And I fundamentally stand by the principal position that if you can isolate yourself from cost, you're not using the grid water, you're using your water, you're not using the grid's electricity, you're using your electricity, then your outgoings start to become just food. Insulate the house so your heating bills become less. Use an Arga or log burners to prevent, as in coal burners and that lot, to heat your house with, so you don't have to use so much on the electricity or gas for heating. I do think Britons, if we can't get our government to move amongst the incompetent fucking retards that they are, or you elect a radical, And that comes back towards what you heard about fucking Andrew Tate's party, the Bruv Party, just recently.
Party, yeah. That's, I'm not going to lie, some of what he plans on trying to do is intriguing, but then you also then got to look on the other side of the coin. Yeah. Basically, obviously, from doing just a tiny bit, it's very anti-liberal.
Very anti-liberal.
Very anti-liberal, which we're
already being hammered on liberalism when it comes to people like Boris Johnson. Was an absolute disaster to liberal society. Badenoch is an absolute nightmare. She's probably the most anti-liberal person we've had as a Tory leader currently. We've got Nigel Farage, the closet nationalist. We're getting hammered by it, and Keir Starmer isn't even a liberal in my opinion. The Prime Minister of the Labour Party is about as far away from liberalism as you. He's almost a red Tory, a red Labour. He's almost a Tory in Labour, relatively speaking. One of the lesser Tories, because how far right-wing the Tories have gotten recently.
It's all about balance, because obviously as much as I'm intrigued by what Mr. Tate could potentially do, and then I'm also thinking, hang on, but what will the cost be?
The cost will be more and more social freedoms.
I have a distinct feeling of dictatorship sneaking up around the corner.
Absolutely. Those are the things we need to fight. Britain needs to be wary of things like that. And that comes from our last podcast we had. Half of Gen Zs, because they're influenced by Andrew Tate, as I looked up why that statement I said from our last podcast about how half of, up to a third of Gen Zers want a dictatorship, they're influenced by Andrew Tate.
Yeah, and one of the points that he stated was all immigration gone. And I'm thinking, hang on.
We can't survive with all immigration gone. We physically cannot.
Hang on. Now, as far as I'm concerned, every country across the entire world has some form of immigration.
Of course it does.
Yeah, I can understand cracking down on the illegal immigration.
Absolutely.
Because then you got more control of the immigration that's coming in.
That's the thing. People don't take a deep dive into the immigration problem, because the immigration problem is also based around economical migrants. Then you've got refugees. We are legally obliged to look after refugees. People who can't go home because their countries have been bummed by America's money. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, but that's where obviously naturally you were taking those refugees.
Yeah.
But the fact is,
you have to identify who's refugee. The British elite don't do that.
Yeah. The fact that you let them in, but then you don't do any checks, and then you just disperse across the entire country, and then you wonder why people are getting pissed off.
Yeah,
because the fact it's not the fact that there is immigration.
Economical migrants should not be allowed in. I will bluntly say that.
Yeah, not the fact that there is immigration, it's the fact that it's not controlled immigration.
Exactly.
Because if it was controlled, most people wouldn't give a flying hoot, because they'd be like, right, we're getting in the people that we need to better help the country and ourselves, not the ones that are coming in to try and run away from something and try to blend in.
You see, but then refugees coming in aren't a problem. We have a legal obligation internationally to look after.
Yeah, but that's where you turn
But
around.
they're not that many. Yeah, that's the fucking crazy thing.
Yeah, that's where you turn around and say, right, so you got the normal migration, right? You're coming into society that way. You got the refugees, which you then
we look after, because there's not that many who reach our island.
I know some people think, it maybe thinking too far, but then you stick them in a certain part of the country so you can keep track of them.
Yeah,
because of the fact that the problem is lack of control, which we're not putting on. But if we turn around and go, you're in this part of Wales, Cornwall, London, whichever, you're in your little section there, and then once your things,
if your country recovers,
once your country recovers, if it ever does or whatnot, you can then go back. But then, say for example, after 5 to 10 years, you can
work to citizenship.
Yeah, turn around and go, well, if you want to stay here, that's fine, but you need to do this job, or this job to get your citizenship. Then you can be a full.
I've previously said this. Take the migration system and renovate it to where we put the migrants in the jobs we absolutely need them in. We control where the migrants go.
90% of them will be like,
I get citizenship.
I'm coming from somewhere which is an absolute shithole, and I'm coming to somewhere which just needs a bit of hard work, and then I'll get citizenship and I don't have to go back to that shithole. And they'll take
it. They'll absolutely do it. The funny thing is, and the problem being is, you can then control the flow. You can say, we've met our quota this year. We've had 1 million immigrants to fulfil our agricultural needs, or we have 500,000 immigrants to fill our construction needs for all the extra houses that Britain hasn't built since the 60s. You see,
which we need.
Which we fucking need. We need. What 𝐾𝐸 is promising is sugarcoating. 1.5 million is not ambitious. Ambitious is 10 or 12 million houses.
Think how much that would lower the entire cost of housing.
Absolutely.
If you turn around and smash 10 million homes across the entire UK, this is across the entire UK, mind.
From Scotland to South.
Not just in a small section of Cornwall, across the entire UK, so you're not affecting the Greenland too much.
You're going to. You're going to have to.
That's minimalising the impact, so you're not affecting too much, therefore not building on too many floodplains, which I think is stupid.
No, it is. It just costs more to build it in the hills and the more mountainous regions.
But then you got the ground in between the hills and the floodplain, which I swear there's an abundance of.
Because it's got industries still sat in them. Most of those areas are where we used to keep our cotton industries that have evolved to our more modern industries. See, the floodplains were where we used to grow our food.
Yeah.
The hills were where we used to live our houses, because we were always under attack when England was a multi-national area. And then between them is where we keep our cottage industry. So you can run to the town walls and then come back out. And that's how Britain was genuinely built back in the olden days.
back in the traditional view of community, because they had more of a community than fucking now.
Absolutely. And that was when you knew that you had to have your industries close enough to the towns. The floodplains were where you would genuinely have many of your farmlands or animal kept. So if it flooded, it wasn't a massive problem.
Because you would, obviously where you had farmed it the previous years or whatnot, because you got the industry sector, you were able to store it correctly without it going rotten.
It's crazy, because much of our country is still very, very livable. We use tiny amounts of Britain's land. The urbanisation of Britain is absolutely tiny.
I was going to say, I've travelled from here to London, and I swear a good 80% of it is countryside.
8%. We use 8% of our
8%
of our island.
8% of our land. But is that just for housing, or is that?
No, that's urbanisation. That's our industry. That's everything. That's where our towns are. Everything.
The entire structure for us to live in. 8%.
Yeah. In 2021, the UK urbanised land area was 2 million hectares, which is about 8% of the UK's total area landmass.
Really good thing would be for the visual ones.
And 84% of the UK live in that land. We should upgrade our entire urbanisation between 8 to 14%. We should. I don't give a fuck about the green belt. It can kiss my ass. We need to build houses. We need to build schools, towns. 8% Britain is what we have. That we have everything that we need as a country to live on. 94% of the island is not urbanised.
Even if we increase it to 15% of...
you double it, you end all of our problems. 8 to 16%.
Yeah, if you doubled it, think how much there still will be of...
Oh, fucking huge.
That's huge.
Fucking huge amounts.
I'm going to see if I could try and find a diagram of it showing just how small 8% is across the entire map if we was to stick it in one corner.
8% of total land area, the urbanised habitat typical is the land covered map is defined by two choices, urban and suburban. That's everything.
Yeah.
Urban and suburban is 8% of our island.
I reckon we could probably fit that all in Cornwall.
Just move all of Britain into Cornwall and turn the rest into farmland. Fuck London.
No. Just for the ones that need like a visual representation, basically 8% probably isn't even the entire of Cornwall.
No, it's a third of Cornwall.
A third of Cornwall, yeah. The entire British population can live in a third of Cornwall.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fucking mad.
Yeah. A third of Cornwall. That's insane. That means the rest of it is untouched.
So, I mean, and there are other reasons why, but I genuinely do believe we need to re-urbanise our country. We need a massive industrial complexible position. We need to build more towns, more cities. We need to build more cities. And we need to have this conversation. And this is what pisses me off with ethno-nationalists. You magically disappear the 12 to 14 million ethnics that are not English, Scottish and Welsh, and you still don't have enough fucking housing for the rest of us. That's the problem. There isn't enough housing, even if you get rid of the 12 million, everything's. That's the Poles, the Greeks, everybody. Everybody who is English, Welsh, and Scottish.
Just British, Irish, and Scottish. There's not enough housing.
There's not enough housing for us now.
Let alone the people we're trying to bring in through legal immigration.
Yeah.
To obviously assist us to live, which says mass housing.
We need housing. We have 8% of our country that's urbanised.
Mass housing, yes, it's going to impact the housing market and the
Fuck
price.
that.
No, hang on. It will make it lower, but then it'll mean more affordable housing for everybody, which in the long run will be better for everybody.
Yeah. The loss of housing prices does not bother me at all.
Do you know that average mortgage repayment I've been looking at is £1,500 to £1,700?
Jesus Christ. That would plunge if we fucking started building houses.
No, let's get this straight, right? Most standard people which earn £20,000 to £30,000 a year, that is most of their paycheck.
Since we're looking at the fact checkers talking about how 8% is the most important part,
Yeah.
so these are checked by actual university specialists. Of non-usable land, 22% of that we can't use because it's not fitted for being able to be urbanised.
Yeah, but hang on, let's think about this. 8% that we're on, with more ground that we can do, but there's only 20% that can't choose.
That still leaves in this professor survey. That still leaves more than 70% of the country we could build.
70% of the country we could build. Also, we don't want to go with the entire 70%.
No, we're not.
If anything, we should be no more than very high end. Stupidly 30.
I think 30% would be too much.
Yeah.
I think we could double the amount of urbanisation.
That's what I mean. If we was to ever go to that point where we're using 30%, that's when we would need to go. Hang on, we need to cap this.
Yeah. 8 to 16%. I think we should double the actual urbanisation we have in Britain. Build 10 new cities. Build 100 new towns.
If we aim for 15% of the country to be urbanised, that will sit nicely. Everyone will be able to afford somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of houses that are built. Infrastructure
new
will be solid.
New cities, new infrastructure, new money.
Yeah. The infrastructure
new businesses that will be sprung up from these new cities.
Think how many businesses will pop up from that. And
huge.
all your corporations are, we don't want to pay tax, but then you'll be paying 35% tax on all those new businesses you have within all those new cities.
Yeah. Literally, you could theoretically build 10 new cities. If we had politicians who had the balls to plan, engineer and execute with no fucks given to what the press and everyone else and the green lobbyists can fuck themselves. I genuinely mean that, and I live in the countryside because our country only uses 8% of our land.
Where I am, I could literally turn around and travel 5 minutes down the road and I'm in the bloody countryside.
It's mad. The fact that 88% of our country lives in 8% of our country's territory is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. We need to build at least another 10 cities. We could do that in the Midlands. The Midlands is so fucking vast, you could put 5 of them there, probably took 2 in Scotland and 2 new cities in Wales. There, you've built new fucking cities. 5 Midlands.
You could even probably stick one in fucking Devon.
Who wants to live in Devon?
Fuck you.
Devon. You're old. You were just in a frame. But seriously, you could stick 5 cities in the Midlands, 2 in Scotland, 2 in Wales. Unfortunately, Belfast is too small to stick a new city in there. Let's be fair about this. But relatively speaking, you could pan out.
You could literally just turn and go one there.
Oh yeah,
loads of space.
Yeah, you could have loads of fucking space, loads. You could build 10 new cities, and actually, what irritates me is that British politicians don't even. We can't afford that. Where would we get the money? Companies will come running if you're building new cities. Companies would come running.
Refurb the tax system so they pay the tax and turn around and go, yeah, but we're building 10 new cities. They will probably fund the fucking city.
This is what I don't understand about politicians down-talking the idea. It's because they know that there's going to be clapback from the green belts. Fuck them. I genuinely, honestly. With an urbanisation of 8% moving, and I say 16, Chris will say 15. I say double the urbanisation across our country to 16%. You will solve huge amounts of our problems.
Think how much the traffic will lighten up if literally you got all that.
5 new cities in the Midlands, 2 in Scotland, 1 in Wales, maybe 2 in Wales.
That's one of the reasons why we have so much congestion, is because we're all smushed.
In 8% of the fucking island.
We double it, that means everything will open up. Guaranteed there still will be congestion, but it won't be as bad as what it is now.
89 seconds to midnight, says the Doomsday Clock statement. Extreme dangerous trends continue. There were no calamities, no new developments last year with respects to nuclear weapons, but it is hardly a good news. Long-standing concerns about nuclear weapons involving the modernisation and expansion of arsenals in all its nuclear weapon countries, the build-up to new capacities, the risk of inadvertently or deliberate nuclear use, the loss of arms control agreements, and the possibility of nuclear proliferations in new countries continues to amplify into 2024 to 2025. The outgoing Biden administration showed little willingness or capacity to pursue new efforts in this area, and Trump has made it very clear he wants to modernise his nuclear stockpile. These are Nazi weapons. Let's remind people of this. Nuclear weapons were engineered by the minds of genocidal maniacs.
There's only one, the world ending, straight off. That's literally all you think of. Nuclear weapons are world ending.
And the people, I need to stress this because many people say, oh, the Americans have these stockpiles, Russians. All of them borrowed German Second World War scientists to build their nuclear weapons. All of them. Everybody did it.
I can understand the research in nuclear energy.
That was independent from weaponry.
Yeah, huh?
That was independent from weaponry.
Was it?
Yeah. Nuclear energy and nuclear weaponry are two different separate branches of technology.
Yeah, see, energy is different because then it'll help us lot.
I fundamentally believe that nuclear energy is one of the cleanest energies you can use.
And the fact that I said that, obviously there's a way to use the radioactive stuff to be turned into a battery.
Yeah. In the fundamental reality is the fact that the scientists say we are 89 seconds away from midnight should terrify everybody. Nuclear weapons are the brainchild, are the birth child of Nazi engineering.
People that wanted to cause harm.
Not just wanted, they thought that they could wipe out entire races. They thought it was justifiable to use these type of weapons on Africans, on Poles, on Czechs, on people who are Untermensch. And I hate to use that because I know the current German people are amazing people. But the reality is...
because they've learned from their lessons.
Of course. Nuclear weapons are Nazi tech. We should not be proliferating it. At all. We should not be proliferating it. And the fact that the outgoing administration just gone and the incoming administration did nothing and the incoming administration just wants to increase them... We're not even talking about the backdrop of Russia can continue war in the Ukraine where the Russian president who suspended compliances with the new strategic arms reduction treaty, or New START as it was called, and the Russian Duma voted to withdraw Moscow's ratification of the Copenhagen nuclear test ban treaty. That's what I'm saying. People are withdrawing from peace agreements that have propagated humanity. Nuclear war will only cause harm everywhere. It doesn't matter where a fucking nuke goes off. The world is in no shape for even one nuclear weapon.
A perfect example of not Hiroshima, not the bomb, the nuclear factory that.
You mean the nuclear thing that went off in Japan?
Yeah.
Took 15 countries to help Japan deal with that.
Yeah. All right. Think of the fallout from that, and that was just from obviously
a nuclear reactor, one reactor orb going wrong.
One reactor orb going wrong. Obviously, with the technology that we're developing, it is highly unlikely it will do it again.
But the reality is that took entire countries to help Japan solve those problems.
Yeah, and I think about it when you turn around and you got that weaponized, then you'll dump it on another country. Just one nuclear weapon and this planet is fucked. That's why they say it's 89 seconds. And I swear a nuclear weapon is actually more powerful than one orb of a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, because the reactors have safety measures.
Yeah.
So as the safety measures are failing or not failing, a reactor meltdown is nowhere near as destructive as a triggered nuclear weapon. Not even close.
That's just... Yeah. That's just from one nuclear bomb.
And the point is that Trump and Putin believe in nuclear proliferation arms race.
Why?
Both of them believe that we should have a new nuclear arms race.
Yeah. Why? Because that is the only result of that is end of the world.
Yeah.
Let's think about this. Yeah. The dinosaurs only got extinct due to
an asteroid. An
asteroid. So
which we think is an asteroid.
Yeah. Of something hitting the Earth from outside of our control, yeah? At the moment, we're going to implode ourselves.
Oh, I know.
And we haven't even scratched the surface of the length of time that we could be on this Earth. Of humanity being on Earth.
Humanity has been on Earth, or I think, if we're to believe the scientists, about 20 seconds in a 24-hour period when you hold into a referendum.
Yeah, and how long did the dinosaurs? I bet it's
hours.
Yeah, hours, yeah. Think about
comparative. It might be an hour. No, actually, no, it might be only an hour because the Earth is so much older than all of us.
Yeah.
It might be only an hour of Earth's time, but we've had 20 seconds.
Yeah, we're 20 seconds, dinosaurs are an hour, yeah? If we want to reach that hour, we need to abolish nuclear arms races.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Nuclear weapons do not provide safety and security for anyone. They cause harm to everyone. Take a look at Japan, how vast Japan and Germany were by not engaging in nuclear arms. Let's take South America. Let's take Brazil as an example. Not even part of NATO, not part of any defensive pact. They are booming. That is a country that is absolutely racing without any problems because they're not paying for the expenses and the costs of nuclear arms. It's a madness when you think about how whole sections. Africa, if they stop their own corruption, and they do have a corruption problem, and it has nothing to do with us Westerners anymore. We haven't been there in 50 years.
That's entirely eternal, isn't it?
Yeah. Nowadays, the corruption and problems in Africa are entirely African built. The Africans need to stop blaming the Westerners. All right, we haven't been there in some parts for 30 years.
We haven't been there in years.
For us, Britain, 50 years. Yeah. For the French, only a few decades. In some parts, just recently been kicked out.
Yeah.
So the French have got tiny toeholds. Remember how big Africa is. Africa's twice the size, 3 times the size of Europe. When we're talking about land mass.
It's huge.
Huge. And yet, the African politicians still want to blame us. We haven't been there in decades. We British haven't been there in absolute decades.
We go there as tourist attractions.
Oh yeah, I mean as political power.
Yeah, political power, we haven't freaking touched it in ages.
No. The scary reality is that Africa needs to deal with her own internal corruption to build up. And once she does, she'll have prosperity like the Brazilians, which is just off the fucking rails right now. Brazil is the most successful South American country. It is absolutely gorgeous. You just see the heights of what they are climbing to, industrialistically speaking. And they're not bothered by nuclear conflicts. They don't get into wars with their neighbours. I mean, let's be fair about this. If South America was just cut off from the rest of the world, Brazil could take South America. Brazil could take the whole of South America. With population, with its GDP, it could take over South America. They don't want to.
No, they're
quietly focusing on their own business. And that's a path that the West should genuinely emulate. Stop sticking our fucking oars in people's business.
We don't need to. Why do we need to?
We're not superpowers anymore. We're not great world powers. But the fact that nuclear weapons are Nazi tech is something we have to constantly.
The moment every country actually realises if they were to just focus on themselves and build on themselves, travel between countries will become a lot easier, a lot safer, and everything else. Because they're like, you're a visitor. Please explore, but do not break our laws. Yeah.
And that goes back to that business that happened just recently. Do you know that young 18-year-old lad who got arrested in Dubai because he was sleeping with a 17-year-old, which was against Dubai law? The mother made sure her and the daughter left the country before reporting them.
Damn.
So the vengeful fucking mother took her daughter and her out of the country before reporting him in the country. He's doing a prison sentence now. Fucking disgusting, baby. That woman, her name should go down in shame. I don't know who she is, but it's disgusting that kind of behaviour. Her daughter and him had consensual sex, but because she was underage, that young man is doing prison time right now in Dubai. You have to respect other people's laws.
Yeah.
You really do. You can't just walk into another country and expect that to happen. But the fact that the mother was so cowardly, she didn't report it until they left. So it was clearly wasn't about justice. The mother wanted vengeance. She caught her daughter red-handed with somebody she didn't approve of.
That sounds to me as a case. So she caught it, didn't like it, so she dragged her daughter out and then just made a phone call.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, it was disgusting. And the fact that the young man was coloured, I don't know if the daughter was white or not, but that would be my fucking suspicion. It's based on racism. And it's entirely race-based. And it's just, we're running on tangents now, aren't we?
Yeah, but all related to the topic at hand.
All related to it. Back towards the 89 seconds, we realistically need to, as a planet, start to seriously think about removing nuclear weapons. across the entire length and breadth. It doesn't matter if you're Russian, American, British, French, whoever you are, nuclear weapons are disastrous.
It's just going to affect everybody across the board.
This is why I'm hopeful for the laser tanks that Britain has only just recently designed. You know the British laser tanks, the ones that affect that are really cheap to use, really quite.
The new one, which literally a trump in every other tank system in its sector, because it's extremely effective.
The Advanced Future Military Laser that's for UK first.
That's the thing. Obviously, they're going, if you remove nuclear thing, what about defence of your country?
Yeah, literally
invest in other ways. And they're able to invest in this whilst turnaround is still budgeting.
Laser weaponry technology shown recently by the UK's laser weapon tests can keep tanks on the front line in the future battlefields with their ability to engage ballistic weapons. When that technology reaches peak capacity, when it basically where it's now on every tank, nuclear ballistic missiles are dead as doornails. Even the supersonic ones, because these fucking things move at the speed of light.
That's one way of defending your country without relying on nukes.
Laser weapons offer a virtually limitless ammunition supply, making it potentially more economically option than traditional.
Can that be augmented onto other vehicles as well?
Currently, no, because the amount of energy necessary requires the tank frame. Currently, no.
So at the moment, they've developed a way where
the fact that it is a mobile tank turret that can fire lasers.
Mobile tank turret that could fire lasers. Yeah. How long before it could turn around to be streamlined is the fact that it'd be on planes, on boats, on submarines. Because there's only one way forward. It's only one way, and that's forward. So if they developed it for tanks, I reckon.
To be fair, the batteries the water-based technology of lasers, just from this article I'm reading, says that it would be anywhere between 30 to 50 years before we do that, because of the inability of the current laser battery systems.
Yeah, that still says that obviously.
Yeah, that they know when it's going to be.
Yeah, they know for a fact it's going to develop, which means it's not long. Going back 30, 40 years, it'll be in the air, on the planes, tanks on the ground, and eventually on your submarines and boats in the water.
£16 million it cost us to build these.
Means patent that and then make everyone.
Oh, it is patent. The MOD has already patented it.
Yeah. Keep that within the UK, and then anyone else wants to do it, they have to pay a fortune so we can develop it even further and outclass them again.
I just high energy laser weapon systems is the future of.
For some reason, you say high energy systems, and I just think of stormtroopers.
Better shooting than stormtroopers, because we know they're all fucking short-sighted.
But you know what I mean? That sort of technology where it's basically a laser gun.
Speed of light from more than a kilometre away. Yeah, the first test. The single blaster laser weapon capable of zapping drones out of the sky costs less than a cup of tea in ammunition. Your cut right there, Chris, is how much it costs to blow up a drone.
I've had a cup of tea and I just blew up a drone.
In theory, 6 to 8 of these tanks could bring down a single ballistic missile. And as the power of these weapons continue to escalate, they should be more and more confirmed upon their abilities.
So basically, it start off and it's already a game changer.
Yeah.
So as soon as it becomes peak.
It's not even at peak. This is the early technology.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's shooting drones down now. And 6 to 8 of them are believed to take out a ballistic missile.
It's at ground level, so first start off and think how fast we can develop that technology before it reaches the fact that it's that energy efficient and there's that much power, one tank will take out a ballistic missile.
Once it can do that, then the ballistic arms age is dead. Let's be fair about this. And they're stating very clearly this has no impact on supersonic missiles or supersonic planes, because the lasers are so fast and so good at targeting. Targeting systems are so advanced in today's society that they can pinpoint where the wake is, work out via computer AI algorithm where the vehicle will be from the wake, because you can't hide your wake.
Yeah.
And fire lasers at it, and you're going to hit.
So it's basically a case of, right, so we know you're going supersonic, whatever.
So your wake's there, we calculate from your wake from speed, because we know what the top speed of your vehicle is. Similar
to hunting bow and arrow, you know the animal's going to go that direction, so you compensate and aim for where it's going to be and not where it was.
Exactly. And that's the basic idea behind the laser things. And you fire 8 or 9 of those laser tanks at them, a kilometre away. A kilometre is now, That's a beginning tech, a kilometre today. I love the idea of laser tech because it's a defensive technology, in my opinion. because it doesn't involve destroying entire cities and killing millions of people.
No, it's precise.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to destroy that.
Yeah, and I fundamentally think that is a brilliant part of British arms industry. We're always going to need tanks. We humans are incredibly warlike. I would like to say we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but most of the world doesn't like each other, let alone their own fucking neighbours. So it's not going to happen. But the idea of laser weaponry coming from the UK is a brilliant innovation.
It's going to take us generations to even remotely tolerate each other.
Yeah, no longer than that. I think we're going to have a space age before. I think we'll have colonies on other planets before.
Yeah, that would actually make sense.
We will probably have colonies on other planets. We'll probably have our permanent Mars and Moon bases before we've managed to solve our problems here on Earth.
I guarantee you it would be a case of to be a multi-planetary species. One would be Christian, one would be Muslim, one would be Buddhist.
Hey, look, all right? Don't start having digs at me, yeah? I'm gonna slap your pseudo-Christian ass.
No, hang on. If we go into the space age and everything else, I could see it happening, the entire planet based on one sole religion. You know it will happen. Because obviously everyone will have their own faith.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because you only have to look... Did you see the recent... what happened to the recent Quran burner in the news? Now, the Swedish guy who's an ardent atheist from Iran burnt the Quran, swore Islam and that. He was shot dead. Murdered on a live stream. Disgusting. Let me be very, very clear. I've never wanted harm on any innocent person in this world. Even people who try to harm my beautiful religion. And I do think Islam is a beautiful religion because it tells you, the very introduction, peace be upon you and upon you be peace, should give you an indication of what Islam really is about. So the murder of this man is unjustifiable, in my humble opinion. But when you are somebody who challenges God and creation, these things will come back to you. You cannot run your mouth. It's not like if Chris was to start slagging off God in front of me, we might have to part ways. He doesn't care, because God just doesn't bother him. You don't, do you? Let's be fair. It's like, it's not my problem.
If there is a God, I'll answer to him when I get there.
That's literally your response. And that's like the bulk of the rest of the human race. But people who directly provoke some form of demand, like he demanded divine retribution.
No, if you want to believe in something, it's your entire right to do so.
So, I mean, if you're going to provoke what I consider supernatural powers, you are asking for trouble. You really are.
No, I wouldn't say supernatural. It's something beyond our current understanding.
Supernatural powers.
Supernatural sounds artificial. Sounds judgmental. It's something beyond our understanding. If people want to believe in whatever they want, they can do. The only issue I have is when they try to force it upon other people.
And again, and another beautiful thing about Islam, there is no compulsion in Islam. You cannot force someone to believe. That's actually written in our Holy Quran.
Yeah, because if you don't believe, you don't believe.
You don't believe. We are not allowed. We are to convey the message of the beautiful message of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him. But we are not allowed to force people into this religion, and that's a fundamental reality. That some, and I'm not even denying that there are Muslims who don't prescribe to that. There are bad Muslims who have betrayed some of the very base tenets of Islam. And we're talking a history leaders.
Yeah,
we're talking about people like, and also some of the Muslim dictators in how they mistreat some of the minorities, the Christian communities, and that lot. That's for another day, another podcast. Anyway, thank you for being here with us, me and Chris. We appreciate it. I'm Sean, John, Yahya, or the Irish Muslim, depending on who the fuck you're asking. And of course, this is Chris. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It has been a pleasure to have you here with our 8th podcast.